Welcome to the Nail Tech Society podcast, where we cut through the noise of the nail industry and make things finally make sense. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1. I literally cannot believe that I'm here. I still am sat here in my little shed in the garden, pinching myself and shaking myself and wondering why I started this, but I know why. It's you guys, and this is why I started this. And this is going to be what gets me up every day, and this is what's going to make me come into my little shed, put my microphone on and record these podcasts. It's to help you all figure out the crazy noise in this industry and hopefully get some calm in your minds. So episode 1, we're going to look at what actually is a nail technician, which I think is a really good question, and how can we get there? So what is a nail technician and how can we get there? So you will all have your own opinions on what a nail technician is, and I'll give you mine. So I personally think that a nail technician is a wonderful, colourful, creative person that is highly skilled and can retain a lot of information. In our industry, we have to remember a lot of things. But also, I think it's somebody who's a good listener. I think it's somebody who can have conversations with people, and it's also somebody I think that can gauge people, know what their moods are, know what they need. Sometimes your client might want to be quiet, sometimes they may want to talk a lot, and as a nail tech we have to gauge all of that, as well as being a counsellor, an all-round counsellor. But then likewise our clients are our counsellors too, because you do form quite strong bonds with your clients as you go through your career, which has been one of my highlights, is that I've not only been a nail technician, but I've also made so many friends in the industry through doing the job that I do, or the techs, but my clients also. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful job. A nail technician is somebody that first and foremost protects the integrity of the natural nail. A lot of people get asked that question, and their first port of call is, well, somebody who puts biop on or somebody who puts acrylics on. But actually, our job is to maintain the integrity and the health of the natural nail first and foremost, before anything else. That's what we do. And then we use the products at our disposal, whether that be builder in a bottle, hard gel, acrylic, gel polish, normal polish, to enhance or to give the clients a coating that stays on their nails for a few weeks without causing damage. That's our... Oh, and to remove and maintain that coating at intervals when required, to a safe and hygienic standard, to work hygienically, to be professional. That is what a nail technician is. So I hope that's gone some way to answering the question of what is a nail technician. It is a multitude of things, but overall, we're here to look after you. We're here to look after your natural nail. So we are trained professionals. We do things like manicures, pedicures, gel polish, builder gel, biab, acrylic systems, nail art. And as I've said, working hygienically, understanding nail anatomy and structure, recognising as well, I think importantly, when something isn't normal, something that needs referring, something that means that we can't carry out a treatment. And again, that's something that's missing along the way in the industry. This seems to have got lost. So that is what a nail technician is. It isn't just somebody that sits at a desk and paints nails. It's this huge multitasking person that literally has to remember a zillion things but loves it. And I think to be a nail technician, you truly do have to love what you do. It is not just a creative hobby. It is a skilled professional service that people are ultimately paying you for. So you need to remember that as well. People are handing over money for a service. So you need to be giving them a really good service. So a lot of people have always said, oh, your job is so good. I'm just going to grab my cup of tea. Your job is so good. What's it actually like being a nail technician? So depending on which avenue you go down, whether you go down being self-employed or being employed, working from home or working from a salon or working from a separate building but self-employed, unfortunately sometimes expectations don't match reality. You have to, yes, it's creative. I think a lot of people think, oh my God, it must just be amazing to be able to do nail art all the time. Yes, it's creative. Yes, it can be flexible. But being self-employed, I love it. I love having the flexibility of my hours and being able to choose when I work and control my income. It is a huge bonus. But obviously, if you are employed, then you will have set hours. Yes, it can be really, truly rewarding. I've won awards. I've competed at high levels. And it's every single thing that I've done has taught me something about myself and made me a better technician and a better person, I feel. It really has. But also they're the pros of it, but on the con side of it, you're sitting for long periods, repeating the same movements, managing clients and their expectations, working unsociable hours, so evenings and weekends, especially when you're trying to build up your client base at the beginning. And you have to constantly practice and improve and do your continued personal development. You can't just do a training course as a nail technician and then hope that carries you through for 30 years, because that doesn't happen. Techniques change, products change, and you need to change with it. It is an ever-evolving industry that you need to keep ahead of, okay, or keep in line with. But also you need to be doing these things so that you can build your confidence, because you do need to be confident as a nail technician so you can best advise your client what is good for them, what isn't good for them, what product they need, what they don't need, what they should and shouldn't be having. You sometimes have to handle feedback that you probably won't like, and complaints. And ultimately it's the way you deal with those that, it's all a learning curve. Is what I'm saying. Being a nail technician is a huge learning curve, and you have to be able to handle complaints and feedback. You also have to be able to manage your own business. As I said earlier, you could be self-employed, and you have to be able to manage that and be able to deal with tax, national insurance, VAT, all of those things, being able to work out your prices so that you're not charging too little and not making enough money to live. Things like that you have to be on top of. The other thing I think as well that when people enter the industry they don't understand is that clients don't just appear, okay? So they don't just come out of thin air. You have to build them over time. You have to build trust. You have to get your technique down, and you have to really work at keeping those clients at your desk. They don't just come. This is another reason why I absolutely detest the gel kits being sold on the centre aisle of Aldi or on the shelf in Boots or Superdrug or any other place, Amazon, things like that. The reason why I don't like it is because it devalues the skill that actually is required. And as we go along these podcasts, you will understand that when you don't know what you're doing with our products, or when you don't know what you're doing with the products that are in front of you, if you don't understand the why, if you've listened to the intro, you'll remember that I said you have to understand the why of what we do. So if you don't get that, then you are going to see issues with the nail. And as a nail technician, you've then got to know how to deal with these issues. And we will talk about that as we go on. It isn't easy. It isn't just a matter of getting a certificate and going out there. It is a continually improving, self-developing industry. And you need to be on top of your game and being involved in order to be a really great nail technician. I think as well, the skill that's required is underestimated. I think if you are somebody that hasn't done this before and you're coming in, it might just be that you've seen your tech doing it. It looks absolutely amazing and you want to do it because it looks really easy. I think a lot of my students would push back on that and say, actually, Mel, I came in, thought it was easy, and you told me that it really isn't. But I also do try and teach my students that this is reality. This is, you have to know these things. You are responsible for that person's nail health and general health, when you're working around the skin and opening up, if you cut somebody, giving them infections, things like that, you're continually working on somebody. And I think students can come into the industry and literally think it's going to be easy, but doing nails is like the more you practice, the better you get. It's like muscle memory. It's like learning to drive. You don't just sit behind the wheel and drive. You have to be taught to drive, and then you have to get experience, and then you have to get confidence. And it's no different with nails. It should be something that is practiced and learned over time. I hope that's answered your question on being a nail tech. It is the best. I'm not going to lie to you. It has been the best job that I've ever had. I worked for the Department for Work and Pensions. I was a red coat in my early years, but this is by far one of the best jobs. The things that I've been able to do in this industry have been amazing. Just as an outline, you can go and work on cruise ships. I do work in product development and product testing, and I do social media work. So I film reels for brands and I do content, and I've written my own courses. I've opened my own academy. I've had a salon. I've worked in a college as an assessor. Honestly, I've competed. I make models with my nail stuff. It is the best industry. But I am going to be dead honest, you get in what you put out. And I know that the techs that are listening to this will totally agree with me on that one. So that is really how you become a nail technician. It's not how you become a nail technician, Melanie. That is what is a nail technician. And as I said earlier, this is going to be a learning curve for me because I've got to stop saying which is really difficult. And I've got to, I have a little script in front of me, but I'm trying to talk as Mel. So I did it again, said I'm going to try for the rest of this podcast not to say it. Okay, so let's have a look at routes in. Okay, so how do you become a nail technician? So firstly, there is a NVQ route, which is a National Vocational Qualification. It's a government recognised qualification, which is usually completed in a college style learning format. They are set out under something called National Occupational Standards, so they follow very strict guidelines and are planned over so many weeks, and it has to follow these guidelines and cover everything that is set out in these guidelines to the letter. Okay. Now I am going to say how they are covered. That is debatable sometimes, because you will get your good educators and you will get your bad educators. You will get your good colleges and you will get your bad colleges. You will get your good courses and you will get your bad courses. Okay, so you typically study health and safety, anatomy and physiology. You do practical treatments, normally commercial salon, where you're assessed by an assessor. I did my A1, I think it was about 15 years ago, and I've done assessing and I've assessed NVQs. So you could do a NVQ where you are in a commercial salon environment and clients come in and they assess you on those clients. You will learn a lot about client care. You will learn a lot about how to retail. You will learn a lot about how to manage yourself in the industry, mainly focused on health and safety though, and the actual practical treatment itself, but it does include everything. And there will be lessons, there will be homework, there will be projects that you have to complete in order to get to the end of your NVQ. I think the most important thing about that is the anatomy and physiology side of it. We do need to have a real deep understanding of anatomy and physiology. Now, I started out doing MVQ 2 and 3 in beauty therapy. I was not a nail technician when I started. It was a Hello Kitty French tip that started my career, but I will talk about that later on in these podcasts, I'm sure. And I did 2 years, so I did 2 full years, level 2, level 3. I covered manicure and pedicure in year 1, my MVQ 2. And then I went on to do facial electrical treatments and thoracic body, electrical body and massage in my level 3, and epilation, which was really interesting. So the MVQ route, as I've said, is government funded, government led, not government funded. I'll get onto that in a minute. So it's government led, recognised, and it's set out to a framework. Okay, so they're often required. MVQs are often required. Some certain salons may require you to have an MVQ. They may be absolutely adamant. Some insurance companies may require you to have an MVQ. I'm just going to move my chair. If you hear a squeak, I'm sorry. And there's some international opportunities out of the country that might require you to have an NVQ, minimum level 2. So if that's something that you want to do, check out those avenues first and see what it is they're asking. Okay, see what it is they're asking, what you need as a minimum. There are also some insurance companies that will not insure you unless you have done an NVQ level 2 minimum. Now, I am going to say on that, although there are insurance companies that won't insure you, likewise, there are a lot of companies that will insure you, insurance companies, if you do an accredited course. Okay, so I'm going to explain the difference between the two. So MVQs, you study over time. They are to national occupational standards. There's a lot of coursework and assessments that need to be done, and these assessments are usually in person by a qualified assessor. And you are signed off for each unit, each module, and then at the end you will get your qualification. Now, that is the simplest way that I can explain it, okay? But what I will say is that you do not need an MVQ to have a career in nails. There's been a little bit of misinformation about. There has been a little bit of information about that I think they are hoping to regulate. So I think eventually there may have to be an MVQ element to our work, but I think there's going to be courses that you can do that will, if you've only done accredited, that will boost you up to an MVQ if and when that comes to the forefront. And as yet, there has been no word on when that is. Hopefully that is the right information there that I've given you, but if not, then if somebody wants to drop me a message and I will make sure that the correct information goes out there on that point. So once we've had a look at MVQs, we're then going to have a look at accredited courses. So accredited courses are how I did my nail courses, how I learned nails. I've done hundreds of accredited courses. I can't even begin to tell you how many I've done, online, in person, upside down, round around. I've done them all. So accredited courses are shorter and more focused, so they're a little bit more intense. They're often a little more flexible, so you can usually book with the educator at a time to suit you. They're designed to get you working sooner, so you can get into the industry. It's a quicker path. Again, on accredited courses, sometimes quicker is not better, and I will explain myself. I promise. So an accredited course is a course that it's a course that's been run by a private training academy or a private educator. They've written their own manuals. They've sent them into an accreditor. In the UK, you've got ABT, the Guild of Beauty Therapists, Beauty Guild. You've got Professional Beauty. You've got IPHM, CPD. There's quite a few. Some better than others. Some recognise more in-depth accreditation. They all differ, so you need to go away and look at all of those before you make your mind up who you're going to train with if it's an accredited course that you're going with. So For instance, ABT is an insurance provider as well, and they've approved the course. So if the course has been approved by the insurance provider and you've done everything you need to do and the educator's done everything they said that you need to do to pass that course, then you can get insurance to practice as a nail technician with that. And you can legally work on clients. You can also get student insurance through those avenues as well, because you should be insured while you're a student. That's an important note. You should have some student insurance in place if you are practicing on clients. I think the important thing to note is that accreditation is not the same as an NVQ. They're not the same thing. It doesn't mean that either one is better or worse. They're just different routes, okay? So I have literally done so many accredited courses, and they've been so vast in their content, in the educator that's teaching them, and their quality of being able to teach. Because it's one thing being an educator, but to actually be able to teach somebody, that's a totally different ball game. I've seen people who have done NVQs that have come out and have learned absolutely nothing. So you need to find a good provider for whichever route you want to take. You need to find a good provider for either. So the one that you should choose depends on so many factors, and this is all down to you as an individual, okay? So, do you want to do a full college experience? Okay, so you can get shorter term NVQs, but do you want to go through that, having to go to a class every single week at the same time? That if that is something that you need to do, then NVQ is the way for you. Do you want a government recognised qualification? If you do, then an NVQ is for you. Are you somebody that wants to learn from somebody who's in the industry, who's very knowledgeable, and get there quicker? Okay, now I will say getting into the industry quicker, it's not an easy route. Accredited courses are not an easy route, and if they are an easy route, then we should really be asking questions, because it isn't an easy route. Okay, it should be just as hard as an NVQ. Put my teeth in. Accredited courses should be structured and have as much content as a NVQ. Okay. Do you need flexibility? Do you need the flexibility to work around your family commitments or current work commitments? Will an NVQ do that because it's so structured? Or do you need to do an online accredited course? There are so many elements to think about. And also, what kind of learner are you? Are you somebody that is really good at picking up on practicals? Are you somebody that needs to actually stand over somebody and learn? Are you somebody that can literally listen to an instruction and go ahead and do it? Are you somebody that can watch 20 seconds of a demonstration and then literally go and do it? Are you somebody that needs your hand guiding? Are you somebody that can't leave the house, that has social anxiety, that needs to do it from the comfort of your own home? All these things need to be taken into consideration before you actually make a choice of what you're doing. So it isn't just as clear cut as it all first seems on the surface, and there's no one size fits all answer. What matters in all of this is the quality of the education that you're receiving. So if you're looking at either route, make sure that the quality is good. Ask to go into the college for a visit. Ask to see how their timetable works, what their lesson plan is. Ask to see what it is that you'll be covering. If you're wanting an accredited course, please do your due diligence on your educator. Being an influencer and being able to put a really nice set of nails on the same model time after time does not mean that you can teach. Okay, so if you're looking at an educator that's charging £1,000 for a course, always go and look at somebody who isn't an influencer, that's been in the industry for years, that doesn't charge £1,000, because they may be able to give you far more knowledge. When you're doing these short courses, make sure that they actually fit the bill. You cannot learn how to do builder gel and infill in one day. Okay, you need to have 2 sessions at least to learn how to infill a nail and how to rebalance a nail correctly. Okay, you can't do that in a day. And I don't care what anybody says, you cannot do that in a day. Mic drop. And I will argue with somebody, and I'm not an arguer, but I will have strong conversations with somebody that claims that it can be done in one day. Because I would argue, how can you teach a safe refill and imbalance procedure when that student can't see an infill or a rebalance procedure, and sending them away to do it without showing them, that is also a red flag. So anyway, that's the last I'm going to say on that. The support you receive from both avenues, there should be clear support. Somewhere to go, someone to talk to, someone to bounce off, somebody who will go and find the information if they haven't got it in front of them. Oh gosh, that's a lovely cup of tea. And also, how, again, going back to how you learn, how well are you going to learn the skill? You know, what do you need to learn the skill? Do you have any learning needs? Do you have anything that you require while you're learning? Can that educator facilitate that? Are you going to feel comfortable in that environment? All these questions need to be asked. So to sum up, what should you look for in a course? Whether accredited or NVQ, what should we be looking for? Is it fully insurable? Does it cover all your theory as well as your practical? Are there any case studies required? If so, how many? How does it work? Do you get feedback? How do you get feedback? Do you have to have assessments? How do these assessments take place? Do you get ongoing support? Is there somebody that you can contact? Is the educator experienced? Again, like I say, there's so many educators popping up in the industry, and also NVQs. Some of these college educators haven't been behind a desk or done any CPD themselves for many, many years. So, you know, you need to check the experience of the person that is educating you. And if it looks quick and it's all very vague, then it probably is. So steer away. Use your internal compass and steer away, because you will not get anywhere in the industry learning bad techniques, bad education. It will not do you good. There are a lot of people in this industry right now, and trust me when I say the ones that are working hard are the ones that are being recognised, because clients don't stand for substandard work now. You have to be working at a good level. So take all of that into consideration. Also, funding. I know it's a big thing, and accredited courses are not funded. You will have to pay for those. And a lot of course providers provide Klarna, ClearPay, kind of instalments, various different ways of allowing you to pay. But generally, I've had students that have had money given them as an incentive from various different avenues to encourage them if they've been out of work for a while, or if they are retraining in something and they are available to certain benefits, grants and things like that. I've had courses paid for like that. But NVQs, depending on your age and your financial circumstances, can be funded, and that's the difference. So money is obviously going to be there. 16 to 18 year olds generally are funded, and 19 and over will depend on your circumstances. You could be eligible for an advanced learner loan, but that again is all circumstantial, and you will need to go and check that out before you make any commitments. So I'm hoping that I've answered questions. I'm hoping that I've answered all your questions. Again, thank you. Bear with me as I'm going through these podcasts. They are so new to me, and I will find my flow, and I'm trying to get as much information in here as possible. And while I'm finding my flow, I'm really grateful that you're bearing with me, because I know it can sometimes be quite overwhelming. But what are my final thoughts? So becoming a nail technician is an amazing career, but please, please, please don't think it's an overnight one. Take your time, choose your training carefully, and practice consistently. Focus on doing things correctly right from the very beginning, because that is what's going to set you apart in the long term, and that is what is going to give you a long and prosperous career. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you will, then please reach out to me. No, don't reach out for me. That would be dreadful. Reach out to me on the Nail Tech Society podcast Instagram page, and I am more than happy to answer any questions on there. And if you have found this helpful, then make sure you follow the Nail Tech Society podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if you know someone thinking about becoming a nail tech, send this to them because it will save them a lot of time in searching. And that's it from me today. And I will see you on the next one. Ta-da!